Okay, hi, my name is Austin Bond. This is my IOP. I chose MLK, A Testament of Hope as my book. From it, I chose three selections. First, Give Us the Ballot, a voting rights speech given in 1957. His most famous speech, I Have a Dream, in 1963. And then his last Southern Christian Leadership Conference speech, presidential address, Where Do We Go From Here, given in 1967. I'll be mostly focusing on style technique, basically how he persuades his crowd, and how he connects to them. He uses an argumentative style called ethos, which has an appeal to credibility. He wants to prove that he has a background in history to speak on the issue, and he has experienced the issues himself. He says that the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile. He is, after 100 years, he still is not free, and he's sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. And he also lives on an island, lonely island, of poverty in a vast ocean of material prosperity. So basically, they're restrained, they're all oppressed. They have not been able to get themselves set free even after 100 years from being free. He also includes that it doesn't help them being poor because then they can't. It's not as easy to fight for their rights. He then speaks singularly, saying that I cannot make up my mind, it is made up for me. I cannot live as a democratic citizen observing the laws I have helped to enact. I can only submit to the edict of others. Edict being a decree having the force of law behind it. So basically he connects with the African American crowd, speaking through how he is also oppressed along with them, but says it in such a way that is not offensive to the white citizens of America as to not offend them and keep them on track with him. Another way he connects with the crowd is his use of words as diction. He selects a very formal and educated selection of words, and such as unequivocal, unbeatable, and reaffirmation, which is sort of recollection. So, how he basically persuades his crowd is through three different ways: similes, metaphors, and repetitions. Similes and metaphors they almost all deal with oppression or freedom thereof. He starts off back with the first quote earlier, with the manacles of segregation and chains of discrimination. They're chained down and held down because of all the oppression. They can't really go very far. This is during a long night of enforced segregation, a long dark time, during which they're unable to really do anything because they can't. First of all, they can't really see what to do, and also they're separated from all the luxuries of the white people, such as movie theaters, unsanitary bathrooms. They get small water fountains, and they don't get the same education or jobs. He says they're the veterans of creative suffering, not in the connotation of war, but rather in a sense of their experience, the literal meaning. Their experience, they have gone through creative suffering, such as police brutality, oppression, discrimination, segregation, poverty, all that combined together, which only the African Americans have truly, really experienced. He says that America isn't really putting action forth. They may change minute things, but they don't change the whole picture and help the entire African American community, saying it is something like improving the food in the prison while the people remain securely incarcerated behind bars. Basically, the food improves, it tastes better, but they can't go anywhere. So it's a little bit better, but they can't do anything even more. He says this is an unhealthy, saying America has a high blood pressure of creeds and anemia of deeds. He also says, brings up a buoyancy of hope, fatigue of despair, the low hovering clouds of despair, and the nights darker than 1,000 midnights. An interesting one I found was, from every city hall, justice will roll down like water and righteousness like mighty streams. So his choice of words there, diction is roll, justice will roll, and instead of something else connected with mighty stream or water, such as fall, rain, or strike down, it says roll, and it gives a sense of smooth, as well in its alliteration. It sounds smooth whenever you speak it. So, and then that's reaffirmed by the water, and then by the mighty stream, as in powerful. So it'll come down powerfully and smoothly, not striking down, not overpowering the white community. So basically equality and freedom for all. Another interesting section I found was nature. He compared oppression to nature throughout a section, saying that they were walking through a desolate valley of segregation, a dark time with like they have almost no life because of all the oppression that they're going through. It's very hard to fight for what they want, because when they do fight, they typically use violence, the whirlwinds of revolt. And through this rioting and violence, they're unable to get what they want because the quicksands of racial injustice take over in the white community. They're very quick to react out of fear and police brutality and locking them up, saying out of fear, basically afraid that the African Americans will take over and throw the country over into poverty and other such things. He counteracts this with the sunlight path of racial justice, a path he can sort of see but it's not quite finished, that leads to freedom and equality. The solid rock of brotherhood. Martin Luther King Jr. is a preacher and a pastor, and solid rock, taken in a biblical meaning, means foundation. So basically, it's upon which you build a house or a stronghold. So basically, a fortress of unity, the solid rock of brotherhood, is what he hopes for. And then the oasis of freedom and justice, a sort of paradise in the sweltering heat of the desert of injustice and oppression. He also uses the repetition. He uses 8 different times. I'll speak of 6 during the 3 pieces I selected. He says, and give us the ballot, 6 different times, giving different reasons as to why they should get their voting rights. This is as to show that it's not a bad thing, and he lists benefits and bonuses as to what will be gained through giving them their voting rights, such as they will transform the South into racial justice. There will no longer be hatred. They will not beg the federal government for their rights or any other such thing. In the next piece, I Have a Dream. He speaks of, he has a dream. 6 different times he says he hopes for the world to live in freedom, peace, brotherhood, and justice. He hopes that one day his children will be able to go to the same school, receive the same education as the white kids, as well as receive the same salary in the future as the white community and the white citizens, and no segregation or anything. He says after this 3 times, with this faith. With this faith, he's saying that he has in this dream that it will become true, and the hope that he has will become a reality, and they will not have to wait any longer. He also says in the next piece, where do we go from here, starts saying, I'm concerned about. Speaking of his African American brothers and sisters acting out in violence and rioting to get their rights. He says that he's afraid that if they continue in this, they will continue to counteract violence with violence, and that doesn't work, and it only works through peace, love, and justice. So he says that basically his civil rights movement will not be achieved entirely because of that, and they must act out of peace and not hatred. The most significant of all 8 that I found was let us be dissatisfied, and where do we go from here? He repeats it 13 times, and he's speaking to the Southern Christian Leadership Conferences, saying that basically do not be satisfied with anything you gain, any rights that you gain. Don't be satisfied with voting rights or desegregation or any other rights until you gain them all. Do not settle for, okay, this and this, and this is okay. Don't settle for itty-bitty things. Take the whole picture. Get it all fixed. Complete equality and freedom and justice between the whites and blacks of America, so that this issue will not reoccur, or they will not continue to have to fight for it. So, in conclusion, Martin Luther King Jr. is a very good, very persuasive speech giver and essay writer. He is very good at persuading his listeners, and in this case his readers, to his purpose, and he connects with the readers well, showing that he was also oppressed and that he does not hate the white citizens, but rather wishes, just simply pleased with them to end the oppression. And that's about it. So that was my IOP. I'm going to cut it off now. I have a bit of time. I'm sorry that I rushed through that, but I filmed this 5 times and it hasn't uploaded because it was just a second long, and I don't have video editing on my computer yet. So anyways, check out my other video, IB IOP. What is it about? What's it about for tips on the IOP? What it is, the criteria they graded off of. I got a rather good grade, 26 of 30. I'm not sure if I was supposed to say that or not, because I've never heard anyone else say their grade. But I got basically a decent grade. 87 is the number grade I get for it if you divide it. But so yeah, I'm gonna cut it off now while I have time. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps. And if you need any help with anything else, leave comments or something. Oh, and I made this video because I just did my IOP yesterday, and I could not find anything to help besides IB survival, and that costs money. So I'm doing this for free. No thanks needed. Okay. So, see ya.